All right, everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome to weekly conference call with Red Earth Development. This is Matt Ham. I'm the co-founder of Uprint and so excited to continue to dive into our partnership together to help build a culture of excellence among the team here at Red Earth and everywhere that the roots, if you will, are diving into. So we know we've got teams out in Lake Tahoe, out in California, folks down in Alabama, Pennsylvania. I believe there's even some in Tennessee from what I'm hearing, and down in Orlando, and certainly here in Wilmington. So this is such a cool way for us to kind of jump together to continue to remind ourselves of kind of the corporate vision of what John wants to build, is building here, and how we can foster that among its team members and really just push into a culture of excellence. So for those of you watching the replay here on the YouTube channel, you will see this beautiful, massive 75-inch television behind me here as part of the growing initiative in the studio. Guys, John is making a huge investment in this concept of culture building to be able to provide us the best quality of resources, materials, hardware, software, all the above, so that we can continue to kind of make an impact, not only in the company culture here of what we're doing, but that you guys can go out into the environments that you've been placed in and really do something special and begin to help shift culture and just create a new mindset when it comes to real estate sales and development. This is about us literally being an industry leader, being innovative, being excellent in every way. And it sounds like the year is off to a great start. So I'm pumped. I get to sit in usually on Mondays with John and the team here to kind of hear where everybody is, the challenges that you guys are facing, and that's usually what informs a little bit of the content that we dive into each week. Today's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to just be very raw and off the cuff with something personally that happened with me, but I feel like it'll be very impactful for us. And so, as I always do, ask folks to mute their mics, and then we'll dive back on here as we wrap up if anybody wants to ask any questions. So a quick snapshot. I sent a copy of my book, Redefine Rich, out to everyone. A lot of folks have been getting that. You guys have been sending me texts and pictures that you've gotten it. You're starting to read it, and that's really cool just to see the team diving in. Like I said, no expectation there, but it shows you a little bit of my heart and my story, who I am, so we can have some context. Now, that being said, in the book, when the book was written, we had three young sons. Matthew, our oldest, is 9 years old now, and our identical twin sons, Wyatt and Grayson, are 8 years old now. But they were probably like 3 and 2 when that book was being written. Since then, we have added 2 little girls to the Ham brood. We have a daughter, Sarah James, who is 4, and another daughter, Mary Elizabeth. We call her Emmy, and she is 6 months old. But I'm telling you about my family because I want to share a story about my son and something that happened today, kind of a pretty important and dynamic situation we're having to deal with. So our oldest son, Matthew, was born out of a barren womb, if you will. My wife and I struggled to get pregnant for about 2.5 years. It was a very difficult time in our lives personally. It led us to a really difficult place in our life and in our marriage. And honestly, the doctors had said that we would not have children. It was kind of an against all odds type thing. And shortly after kind of we hit rock bottom, we found out that my wife was pregnant with a son. And we named him Matthew Derek Ham Jr. And when my son was born, he was born with a true knot in his umbilical cord. And I write about this in the book, which is why I'm sharing it. When I saw my son be born and he had a true knot in his umbilical cord, his literal umbilical cord was wrapped in a knot. It only happens in about 10% of pregnancies. And it can result in some fairly dangerous and devastating effects, results, if you will, whether it be, stillborn or whether it be brain damage. So when he was born, all of this stuff was just very prevalent in our minds and our thoughts. But Matthew was perfectly fine and wonderful and healthy, and we're so grateful for that. But at the time, I related that experience to my own life, that my lifeline to my spiritual faith, whatever you want to look at it, my lifeline was completely strangled off with a knot in my umbilical cord, metaphorically. And, the Lord was really speaking to me during that season about untangling that knot, letting Him untangle that knot so that I could really have that connectedness and that relationship to live fully and freely and, that kind of thing. Well, Matthew, our son, has grown up much like his dad. He struggles a lot with kind of wanting the approval of people. Even those who say they don't care what people think, we always do care what people think. And so he struggles to find relationships and so forth because he gives himself away so much to what other people have to say. And he's struggled in school. He's a great student, great kid, but he gets picked on for being smart, or gets picked on for being a little bit on the heavy side. He's not by any means overweight, but he's kind of got my build. He's a bigger kid, and so he gets picked on there, and he embodies this very much so, to the point where today at 10 a.m. I get a phone call from my wife and said, I need you to come to the school. And so I go to the school, and my son is in shambles. He's very upset. He's crying. And he basically says, Dad, nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. And I don't even love myself, and all these different kinds of things. And I'm just being his dad. I'm listening to him. And come to find out, one of the students had gotten Valentine's Day cards, and he had given them to all the other students except for my son. And my son took that very personal. It hurt him. And he's just going on and on and on about how nobody loves him and nobody likes him. Now, I'm not going on about a personal situation in my life and airing my baggage here. But what I'm using this is an opportunity for us to think about the thoughts that we allow into our minds when it comes to how we spend our time and our energy and in our relationships. Because I can promise you that if you're in sales, you will be rejected, and multiple times over. And you've got relationships with customers, you've got relationships with other salespeople, you've got management, whatever the case might be. There are going to be moments in your life where it might feel like that you are rejected, that nobody likes you, and it's very challenging for a salesperson to maintain a mindset and a posture of joy and peace and excitement when all of these pressures are kind of coming down on you. Now, I remember when I was in sales, a lot of folks talked about smelling the blood in the water. When you've got a salesperson that's floundering and they're struggling to make ends meet, clients can smell blood in the water and they don't buy. And so how do we create a mindset toward our circumstances that let us truly be our best self as we relate to our customers and all the different relationships that we have? And so, I hope that you'll find some encouragement in this as you navigate these challenges in your own life. Now, maybe you're dealing with these challenges in your own families. I don't know. Maybe with your own kids, so it could be beneficial there. The point is that you cannot live from a mindset and a place of rejection. And inherently, we as people have to understand our value and our worth. And our value and our worth can never be tied to our achievements. Let me say that again. Our value and our worth can never be tied to our achievements. We live in a culture that is predicated on do things the right way and be successful, and then you will be validated. In reality, validation comes simply from knowing who you are and being courageous enough to be that person in the face of a culture that is adverse to that. When we look at this from a biblical perspective, it says celebrate weaknesses, because when you are weak, then you are strong. We don't like that. It's hard. It's difficult when people put you down. It's difficult when things don't go the way you want. But the challenge is how do we become a people and a culture that rises above the circumstances with a mindset that continues to move forward? And here's what I shared with my son. My son was not having any of the platitude spiritual stuff. You were loved, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. And I get it. Listen, we're beyond the spiritual platitudes here. And I was kind of searching my heart and really asking God for an opportunity to share something powerful with my son. And immediately, I remembered and noticed that my son loves sports. Now, being that it's Super Bowl week, I imagine a lot of you watched the Super Bowl this week. And so what we saw was a team that was favored down by 10 points without the ball with like 6 or 7 minutes to go. Okay? The likelihood of Kansas City winning the Super Bowl underneath those odds was extremely, extremely low. They were not in any way, shape, or form in that moment favored, and the odds were stacked against them. And now my son is a big fan of all things sports, and so he knew Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I asked him, I said, Matthew, what do you think Patrick Mahomes was thinking when he threw that interception in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl down 10 points? And he said he probably was thinking that they're going to lose. And I said, I guarantee you he was not. He was not thinking about loss. He was thinking about how can we get the ball back and win this football game. You see, what we allow into our minds, if we have a spirit of loss in our mind, what's it going to cost me? What am I going to lose? You will never have victory. Any major sports hero does not look at the scoreboard in the fourth quarter being down and think, I'm going to lose. They automatically think about what do I need to do? Who do I need to be in order to win this game? And the moment that they start thinking about loss is the moment that loss happens. And so I'm going to challenge you guys in this as we step into this each and every day is if you are thinking about all the things that are going to go wrong, and if you are thinking and you're allowing these things into your mind and giving them power and authority over your life of what's going to go wrong and how you're going to fail and, loss, you will not succeed. However, if you have the capacity to let go of whatever the outcome might be and just be excellent in that moment, just be who you are, that is what sets apart the champions from those who just wish they were. The difference is not about what you're going to lose. The difference is about the capacity to let go. We, as a culture of excellence, have to have the capacity to let go of whatever the outcome might be and just be excellent in the moment, be excellent in the midst of the circumstances. So I was talking with Matthew, and I told him, I said, I can guarantee you Patrick Mahomes was thinking about winning. And he loves basketball. He's playing basketball right now. And I immediately said, Matthew, if it's the fourth quarter and you're down by 2 and I give you the ball and you take a three-pointer, are you going to make the shot? First words out of his mouth, no, Dad, I'm going to miss it. And I looked at him, I said, son, are you going to make the shot? And then he said, I'll try. And I said, no, son, are you going to make the shot? And he said, I'll try. And I immediately remembered one of our favorite movies. It's a favorite movie of mine that my son has now watched. You may have seen it. It's called Hoosiers. It is the story of an underdog Indiana basketball team that goes all the way against all odds and beats this reigning champ, kind of David versus Goliath type story. And in that movie, there is one of my favorite characters in all of sports movies, Jimmy Chitwood. Jimmy Chitwood is this homegrown basketball prodigy, but he didn't play because of confidence issues and because of just turmoil in the community and in his own life. And in the ending scene, they're down and they have the ball. And what happens is powerful. The coach says, Jimmy, we're going to use you as a decoy and we're going to let this guy take the shot. And the team immediately knew, Jimmy needs to take the shot. Jimmy needs to take the shot. And I looked at my son today outside as he was crying, and I looked at him and I said, Matthew, what did Jimmy say in the final scene of Hoosiers? And he looked at me and he started crying and he said, y'all excuse me, he said, I'll make it. I'll make it. Jimmy Chitwood said, I will make it. Give me the ball, coach. I'll make it. Now, we fantasize this with movies and all this kind of stuff. And my son, being 9 years old, he's watching movies like Forrest Gump and Rocky and Hoosiers. And I just told him in that moment, I said, son, be the people that you love to watch in movies. Be the people that you love to watch in movies. You see, we have this thing in our culture where we look to these heroes as being special people that can do things that we can't do. And that is the fallacy of our lives. We are those people. It is simply the choices that we make and the mindset that we have that we take into an environment that separate the heroes from those who just wish they were. And this isn't about self-determination and grit and perseverance for the sake of perseverance, because, in reality, The Little Engine That Could is a great, great, great book about perseverance. But in life, your own self-will and determination will run you into the ground at some point. You have to get to the place where you realize that your life is bigger than yourself and there's a purpose greater than that of your own agenda beyond you. And when you can yield and to surrender to that bigger idea of purpose and what you were put here for, and then apply persistence to that leading, that is what changes the world and transforms culture. It was not Martin Luther King Jr.'s perseverance that changed the civil rights movement. He was placed here with a purpose by God, as he would say, to bring light to a situation, and then he persisted at that. And so I just want to encourage you guys today as you navigate life and sales and building this excellent organization, is we have to become the people that we want to read about. I heard a great, one of my favorite speakers, a guy named Andy Andrews, he says that they don't have a loser section in the library. And I love that. I love it because it's so true. We read stories about great, excellent, wonderful people, but then all of a sudden we don't make the decisions necessary to become that person. And so this is just a call to action for those of you who are able to sit with this, is to be the people that you read about in books and be the people that you watch in movies, and have the mindset of victory ahead of actually having the victory. And do not let the negative thought patterns and the enemy and people get in there and cause a muck in your mind. It's going to rob you of excellence each and every time. And so today, the challenge is simply that, is to pause a little bit, think about the inner dialogue, think about where you're giving your time and energy to. And if you're starting your day from a lost position, you're going to lose. But if you're starting your day from a letting go position, letting go of all of it and just stepping into who you are, that is where excellence begins. And we have to be like Jimmy Chitwood that says, "Coach, I'll make it." And that is not an inner self-confidence. It's not. Self-confidence will fail you. Supreme confidence, confidence in something bigger than yourself, will be the victor every single time. So thank you guys for letting me share that personal story today. I hope it had great application to where you are and what you're navigating through. With that being said, if anybody's on the call has any questions, you feel free to ask them either in the chat, or you can jump on the microphone here. And then for those of you who are watching this on the YouTube replay, you can ask them in the comments there or reach out to me personally. If I don't see anything from anybody, then we'll kind of go ahead and close up here. But I appreciate you guys. I want you to know that I am championing you and cheering for you and here for you guys in each and every way. If you want to reach out personally, one-to-one, to talk about some stuff, we're here for that as well. But you guys keep going. Be persistent, and not in your own self-will, but because you know that there's something greater out there that you're fighting for, getting back up for, and believe in yourself enough to know that you are going to make that shot once you're given the opportunity. And again, we can talk more this week, maybe later, about putting in the work so that when your shot comes, you've taken it 1,000 times, 10,000 times even. So anyway, you guys have a fabulous day. Thanks for jumping on. And Ted, thanks for the comment there, brother. Appreciate you guys. We will talk to you all very soon. Peace.